Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. My name is Stephanie Lancaster. I am the vice chair of the Coalition of Occupational Therapy Advocates for Diversity, or as it is affectionately known, COTAD. And I'm here tonight to talk to you about one of our newest initiatives, which we are temporarily calling COTAD State. And I'm going to talk to you about that temporary part in just a little bit tonight. So my objective for this next little bit is to connect with people who have similar interests in advancing what we sometimes call the DEI initiatives, diversity, equity, and inclusion, although that is more recently being referred to as the JEDI initiatives, justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion in occupational therapy. And I specifically want to let you know about the support that is available for people who are wanting to assist in the efforts to advance our JEDI initiatives in our profession and what supports are available through COTAD. I am in Memphis, Tennessee tonight. You might hear a little bit of Southern in my accent. I am an occupational therapist, of course, and have been one for 30 years this month. I graduated from WashU in St. Louis and in 1991, and I'm not a fan of cold weather, so I moved straight south to Memphis, and I haven't left yet. Although I do travel to California and other places out west a good bit. So I am really honored to be here tonight and to talk to you. And I want this to be as interactive as you all want it to be. I'm sort of like that in my teaching style. If you want to interrupt me and say something or ask something, or if you want to put stuff in the chat, any of that is totally fine with me. It won't throw me off or distract me any more than other things will. So, okay, so we're going to start talking about COTAD State. It was developed, it was sort of the brainchild of Christina Reyes Smith, whom you all may know because she is on the board of directors in AOTA. And she is also on the board of COTAD, and she's one of the co-founders. And she was hearing a lot of chatter about people at the local, state, and regional level who want to get on board with the advancement of JEDI efforts. And there are a lot of committees that are being formed in state associations and even in facilities, in workplaces, and just communities, groups of friends of OT practitioners around the country. And they're wondering what they can do in their little corner of the world. And that's what we want to support through COTAD. So it's been brought to my attention that the term COTAD State sounds like it's legislative in its mission. And that's part of it, but it's just part of it. So we are looking at potentially changing the name to something else, COTAD something else, but it will be the same initiative, the same details there. So it was established in last fall in 2020 as a new initiative of COTAD to facilitate networking of individuals in the OT profession who are interested in issues related to justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. So that was our starting point. Now, since then, Christina is, of course, very busy with AOTA, and she and I have worked very closely together in COTAD. And so she handed the baton to me I began in my role as vice chair January 1st. And this is sort of my pet project right now, I guess you could say, within COTAD. And so a committee of COTAD members and I have fleshed out what we want COTAD State to look like. what we can offer, and what we feel like is the best route to facilitate or support the efforts in state, local, or regional contexts. So these are our three goals of COTAD State. We want to support the networking and connection of OT practitioners and OT students with information about JEDI. We would like to provide people with access to action-oriented and tangible resources. And we would also like to promote the benefits of COTAD membership, and tell people about volunteer opportunities that are available through COTAD that people might want to get involved with. And then sometimes those volunteer opportunities might extend into their state, region, or local area. So it could be sort of a starting point for that. Our target audience for COTAD State for this initiative is primarily individual OT practitioners. It's also OT students whose OT programs do not yet have a COTAD chapter. If the programs do have a COTAD chapter, they're already working within COTAD. So we have almost 100 chapters. Each one is affiliated with an OT program in the US. Right now, we're almost to that 100 mark. So there are a lot out there, but of course, there are more than 100 OT and OTA programs in the US right now. And so there are some students who don't have that available, the resources, the support, the momentum, I guess you could call it, that we have in big COTAD or national COTAD, and we want to provide that for them. Some of that might be connecting local OT practitioners with those students who don't have a COTAD chapter, and the practitioners may help the students start a chapter. So that's also part of our target audience. And then persons associated with state organizations. And I want to say here that we very much recognize and respect the work around DEI that has been going on in state associations. We have heard about and seen lots of activity going on in that way, especially over the past 10 to 12 months. Lots of things have cropped up due to the racial injustices and unrest in our country that really have come to a head over the past year or so. And so in response to that, very proactively, the state associations, like the ones that you all are affiliated with, many have formed DEI committees or task forces, or maybe just even appointed or elected one person into that position, to that role within their state association. And so we're not trying to usurp anybody's authority or say that only COTAD can do things related to DEI or JEDI. That's not what we're here to do. And I want to make that clear. We are here just as a resource and a support and a way to keep people from having to reinvent the wheel, very honestly, because we're all too busy for that and we're too smart for that. We know there's really no reason for somebody in Missouri, somebody in Tennessee, somebody in California, somebody in Washington State to create resources that are already available through COTAD. Just use what's out there, and then you'll have more time and energy to do the work. If you have been attending any COTAD events, or if you are a COTAD member, if you read the newsletter, poke around on our website, you know the COTAD is very action oriented. And that's one advantage of being I guess you would say, grassroots or a little bit of a smaller organization, because we don't have to have 10 people's approval for every single thing that happens. And We, much like state associations, we can get things done because we're relatively small, compact, and we know each other well. And so that is helpful in our momentum. We created the Ignite series, which some of you have come to. It was a series of serieses, really. We had 4 different series of panelists and talks between early June last year and May this year. The very first one was centered on racial injustice, discrimination, racism that people within the OT profession have and continue to experience. And with that, we very strongly emphasize that we're not just here to listen. That's important, yes, but we're here to act. We are here to facilitate action and movement so that something gets done that helps our profession and helps our clients or prospective clients and helps society. We also had one of those Ignite series that was centered around OT education and injustice, discrimination, and racism that has occurred in that context, both in the didactic part, for faculty members and on field work. Lots of that going on. And that was action oriented. Then we had, in the fall of last year, we had an LGBTQIA plus series that looked at specific challenges and potential solutions for those challenges for people in that community. And then last but not least, at the very beginning of 2021, we had an Ignite series that focused on disability rights, advocacy specific to people who work in the OT profession with disabilities. And so we gained a lot of information and momentum through those series. And that has helped us put together some of the information and materials that we want to make available to you all and to others who are ready to help carry the torch. So at this juncture, these are the 3 sets of resources that we have made or are making available through COTAD State. The very first one is really an introduction to COTAD. We call it All About COTAD. And so it's a video that we are soon to make available that provides a guided exploration about the history and mission of COTAD. If you attended any of those Ignite series or any of our COTAD conversations or Instagram Live things that we're doing, or any of our annual breakfast with a keynote speaker that we've done over the years, you have heard a little bit about the history of COTAD. We've been doing this work, this very, very important DEI work for a decade now. We didn't start doing it this time last year. We just are continuing on with that. And so we consider ourselves, and many others consider us to be the premier organization within the OT profession that is targeting justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, very specifically, very intentionally, and strategically within the OT profession. And the reason we really are so motivated to do that, and we are motivated to facilitate others in carrying the torch and doing this very important work, is that we know it improves health outcomes. It's very well researched that that's the case. And so we look at occupational justice and civil rights and human rights as part of our responsibility individually and collectively within COTAD and within the OT community. So we have this all about COTAD package of materials with a video with the history and background and mission of COTAD. And then that video includes a little bit about the membership perks, volunteer opportunities that are offered through COTAD. So we will provide a recorded video and then a reflective worksheet that really pushes people to act, not just listen or watch the video, but consider how each of us can facilitate or be a catalyst for change in our profession. So that's package number one. That's door number one in COTAD state. Behind door number two, our second package is called Advancing Jedi Through COTAD Chapters. And I sort of alluded to this a little bit earlier. And I can tell you one that I was fortunate enough to partner with through the Tennessee OT Association that I work very closely with in my home state. The DEI committee chair in TNOTA and I put on a joint run information session last fall where we invited, it was open to TNOTA members and anyone else who wanted to attend, students, practitioners, anybody. And we talked about COTAD. We talked about how COTAD is, and the efforts of COTAD are important in our state. We talked about some of the demographics, some of the challenges in our specific state. And then we talked about COTAD chapters and what that is, kind of the history of that, how that works. And at the time this information session was offered, there was only one COTAD chapter in the state of Tennessee. There are many OT programs, roughly 15 OT and OTA programs, but the only OT program at that time with a COTAD chapter happened to be the one where I'm the program director. And so, I helped the students get that started. They did it, but I supported it. And we want to offer that support at the state or local level to other student groups and OT programs and OTA programs that are interested in starting a chapter. So once we market that, once we kind of sell the idea and a program or group of students decides, yes, we want to move forward with that, we then hand them over to Dr. Arame Anvarazadeh, who is the chair of COTAD and who is in charge of COTAD chapters. And then she walks them through the how do you do it kind of steps for starting and maintaining a COTAD chapter affiliated with an OT or OTA program. So that's the second package we offer right now through COTAD State. And last but not least, we call it Next Level, Leadership, Accountability, and Action. And this is a guide that any of you or anyone who is interested in can access to help put together a panel, a presentation, or just a meeting. It could be a listening session or just a think tank kind of brainstorm session that you would run centered on what's going on in DEI and JEDI in your part of the woods, your neck of the woods. So very soon, these three packages of materials are going to be made available to people within COTAD